Part 1. The cracks begin to show. Hey Reddit. I never thought I'd be that guy pouring my heart out to strangers online, but I'm here. Call it therapy or a desperate search for clarity, I need to talk about what's been happening in my life. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, 32F, let's call her Rachel, for 7 years. Together for 10. I thought we were solid. We were the couple people always said were meant for each other. We had inside jokes, Sunday morning routines, plans for a cabin in the mountains someday. All that cliché crap. I loved her. Like, really loved her. But for the last few months, things have been off. It started small. She became a little colder. A little distant. Sex dropped off, but not completely, just enough for me to notice and brush it off as stress from her new job. She started spending more time on her phone, texting in other rooms, or turning the screen away when I came near. I told myself I was being paranoid. I mean, we all have our moments, right? Life gets busy. People go through phases. She started going out with the girls more often, but when I'd ask who she was with, I'd always get vague answers. You don't know them, or just people from work. One night I joked, you sure you're not sneaking off with a secret boyfriend? She rolled her eyes so hard I swear I heard them click, then snapped, God, you're so insecure lately. Maybe get a hobby or something. That one stung. But I swallowed it. I didn't want to believe it. I needed to believe it wasn't what my gut was screaming at me. Looking back now, I think the cracks had already started spreading long before I noticed. Part 2. The first clue. Alright, so things kept getting weirder. About a month ago, I noticed her perfume, this flowery, expensive stuff I bought her for our anniversary, lingering even after she claimed to have just come back from the gym. I mean, who wears designer perfume to Planet Fitness? I joked about it, trying to keep things light. You trying to impress the elliptical machine, babe? She laughed, but it was forced. Tight. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Maybe I just don't want to smell like a swamp rat, unlike some people. Charming, right? Then there was her phone. She used to leave it lying around all the time, on the kitchen counter, the coffee table, even the bathroom sometimes. Yeah? It was practically glued to her. Screen down, notifications off, password changed. I asked her why the sudden need for secrecy, and she hit me with, wow, you really don't trust me, do you? Again, I let it go. I hate conflict, and I was still trying to believe this was a phase. Maybe she was feeling down and didn't know how to talk about it. Maybe work was stressing her out. I made excuses for her, because that's what you do when you love someone. You give them the benefit of the doubt. You want to believe in them. Then one night, she said she was going out with coworkers for drinks. Totally normal. I said, cool, have fun, and went about my evening. A few hours later, I realized she left her iPad on the couch. Normally, I wouldn't have even touched it, but the screen lit up with a message that caught my eye. Can't wait to see you again tonight, face-blowing kiss. It was from someone saved as C. Just the initial. My heart dropped into my stomach. I shouldn't have, but I tapped it. What I saw next made my hands go ice cold. More messages. Flirty, suggestive, straight up dirty. Stuff I didn't even know she liked, and we've been together a decade. That was the moment it stopped being paranoia and became real. Part 3. Connecting the dots. I stared at that iPad like it had just slapped me across the face. You ever have one of those moments where reality just fractures? Like your brain refuses to believe what your eyes are seeing? That was me. Sitting there on the couch, rereading messages I was never meant to see. And I'm not talking flirty emojis or vague comments, this was full-on graphic. Stuff about hotel rooms. Stuff about things they did. Stuff about things they wanted to do again. She told this C guy that she wished she could fall asleep on his chest every night instead of sneaking out like a teenager. That hit me harder than anything else. Not even the sex talk, the intimacy of it. That she wanted that with him, not me. The timestamps lined up perfectly with the nights she claimed to be with her girls. One of them was the same night she came home tipsy, acting all giggly and trying to distract me with sudden affection, which, at the time, I welcomed. Now I know it was just guilt trying to cover its tracks. I felt physically sick. My hands were shaking. I wanted to scream, throw the iPad, break something, but I didn't. I sat there for almost an hour, just scrolling through their messages. Screenshots. Dates. Even a damn selfie of her in lingerie I thought she bought for me last month. Turns out she sent it to him before I even saw it. I didn't sleep that night. She came home around 1 a.m. smelling like a different cologne than mine. She kissed me on the cheek like everything was normal and mumbled something about traffic before going to bed. And I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, realizing that the woman snoring softly next to me wasn't who I thought she was. Part 4. The setup. So now I knew. I had the proof. But I didn't confront her right away. Maybe that makes me a coward, I don't know. But part of me, the dumb, hopeful part, wanted to catch her in a lie. To give her a chance to come clean. Maybe even to see if she'd feel something, guilt, remorse, anything. So I decided to wait a few days. Observe. Collect more. Make sure I wasn't missing something or misreading anything. Spoiler, I wasn't. I started playing the part of the clueless husband. I was polite, even affectionate. I asked about her day, asked about work. Every time she gave me some BS story, I just nodded and smiled. Meanwhile, I was reading the updates between her and C from the iPad like it was a sick, twisted soap opera. I also did some digging. Checked phone bills. Call logs. Hotel charges on our joint credit card she swore were conference-related. Tracked down her coworker, Marissa, who she mentioned constantly in her girls' night alibis. I messaged her on Instagram and asked casually if Rachel was still planning that trip with her. Marissa's response? What trip? Bingo. The lies weren't just stacking up, they were practically a monument at this point. That same night, Rachel made a show of getting ready again. Tight dress. Makeup. Heels I hadn't seen in months. Another girls' night, she said, while dabbing on red lipstick like she was going to war. I said, tell Marissa I said hi. She froze for half a second. I swear I saw the mask slip. But she recovered quick as hell. Marissa couldn't make it, different friend tonight, she said, barely looking up. You wouldn't know her. I just smiled. Right? Have fun, babe. She walked out the door. I sat down and made a plan. I was done pretending. Part 5, The Sting. All right. So she left. All dolled up for her girls' night that I now knew was a rendezvous with this mystery man, see. I sat on the couch, heart pounding, watching the clock tick. Every minute felt like a punch in the gut. But I was done being passive. I needed to see it with my own eyes. Needed the final nail in the coffin. I called up my buddy Jake. Lifelong friend, ride-or-die type. The kind of guy who once helped me move a couch at 2 a.m. because I thought it had bad vibes. I told him everything. Showed him the messages, the photos, the timestamps. Jake's a calm guy, but when he saw what she'd been saying to this guy, he just said, let's go. I knew from the texts that she and C had met up at a hotel on the edge of town a couple times. Real discreet place basically made for cheating. The last message I saw was her saying, same spot as before. I'll sneak out around 11. So we waited. Parked in Jake's car across the street from the hotel around 10:30. I didn't even know what I was hoping for. Maybe I wanted to be wrong. Maybe I thought she'd back out. But at 10:57, there she was. Rachel. Walking into the lobby. Alone. Still in that damn red lipstick. Jake didn't say a word. I think he knew if he did, I'd fall apart. I just sat there, staring at the glass doors, my mouth dry. It's wild how surreal betrayal feels when it's not just digital anymore, when it has a body, a face, and walks into a hotel with purpose. 10 minutes later, he showed up. Some smug-looking dude in business casual. Probably early 40s. Tall. I didn't recognize him. They didn't hug or kiss out in the open, but the way they moved, close but cautious, it was obvious. They were on a well-practiced routine. They disappeared into the elevator. And that was it. There was no more room for doubt. Part 6, The Confrontation, Round 1. I didn't sleep that night. After Jake dropped me off, I just sat in the dark in our living room, staring at the wall. Every creak of the house made my heart jump. Around 1:30 a.m., the front door opened. She came in quietly, trying to be stealthy like I was already asleep and she could just slip back into the lie. I stayed silent until she got to the hallway. Then I flipped on the light. She jumped like she'd seen a ghost. Jesus, you scared the hell out of me. I didn't say anything at first. I just looked at her. Looked at the dress. The smeared lipstick. The slightly messy hair. I took it all in. She looked guilty for about half a second. Then the switch flipped and she went on the offensive. What are you doing just sitting here in the dark like a psycho? I said calmly, too calmly, where were you tonight? She blinked. I told you. Out with friends. Which ones? Why do you care all of a sudden? Was it Marissa? Because I talked to her. That shut her up. For maybe 5 seconds. Then came the classic move, deflection. Wow. You went behind my back to spy on me? Are you seriously invading my privacy like this? That's really messed up, you know? I laughed. Couldn't help it. Not because it was funny, because it was insane. She was cheating and somehow I was the bad guy for catching her. Rachel, I said, I know about him. I know about C. I saw the messages. The photos. I saw you walk into the hotel tonight. Her whole face drained of color. Mouth open, eyes wide, like she couldn't believe I said it out loud. And then she lied again. You're paranoid. That's not what you think. Stop. Silence. I stood up, handed her the iPad. The thread was still open. She looked at it. And instead of crying or apologizing or even pretending to be sorry, she rolled her eyes and muttered, "Well, if you were actually paying attention to me the past year, maybe I wouldn't have needed someone else." Part 7. The Blame Game. I stood there holding the iPad, absolutely stunned. That was her defense? That this was somehow my fault? I said, "So your solution to feeling neglected is to sneak around and someone else behind my back?" She scoffed. "It's not like I planned it. Things just happened. And yeah, maybe if you didn't spend every night glued to your laptop or acting like a roommate instead of a husband, I wouldn't have had to look elsewhere." It felt like she had rehearsed it. Like she was waiting for this moment to finally turn the tables, twist the knife, rewrite the narrative where she was the victim. I wasn't perfect. I'll own that. I work a demanding job. Sometimes I came home late. Sometimes I was distracted. But I always showed up for her. I never cheated. Never even thought about it. I thought we were in this together. "You could have said something," I said quietly. "You could have told me you were unhappy. We could have worked on it. Counseling. Something. But you chose this." She crossed her arms like she was just done with the conversation. "Whatever. You clearly don't want to hear my side anyway." That's when something in me broke. I wasn't even angry anymore, I was just hollow. Watching this woman I thought I knew twist everything, defend the indefensible like our entire life together was disposable. "Your side," I said. "You've had another man's hands on you, Rachel. In hotel rooms. While I was at home cooking you dinner, folding your laundry, loving you like an idiot." She looked away. And then she said something I'll never forget. "Well, maybe he just made me feel something you haven't in years." That was it. The moment I knew we were done. Part 8. Breaking point. After she said that maybe he made me feel something you haven't in years, I just shut down. There wasn't a fight. No yelling. No dramatic storming out or throwing things. I just stared at her like I was trying to recognize the person in front of me. But Rachel, the woman I married, wasn't there anymore. I don't know when she left or if she ever really existed the way I thought she did. I walked past her without saying another word and went straight to the bedroom. Locked the door. Sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor for what felt like hours. It's hard to explain what betrayal like that feels like. It's not just heartbreak. It's like grief, rage, humiliation, and disbelief all stuffed into your chest at once, clawing to get out. You question everything, not just the relationship but yourself. Was I blind? Was I stupid? How long had this been going on behind my back while I was buying groceries and paying bills like a chump? She knocked on the door once, then again a few minutes later. "Can we talk?" No. No, we could not. I didn't answer. Eventually, I heard her go to the guest room and shut the door. The house went still. But sleep didn't come. I just laid there, going over every little moment in our marriage that suddenly didn't feel real anymore. The anniversaries, the vacations, the way she used to laugh at my terrible jokes. It was like someone lit a match and burned down a decade of memories in one night. By morning, I knew what I had to do. Part 9. The Aftermath. The next morning felt surreal. Like waking up in a version of my life that looked the same, but everything was off. Her stuff was still in the bathroom. Her half-empty coffee mug still on the counter from the day before. But the air was different. Heavier. I didn't talk to her. I got dressed, went to work like a zombie and spent the whole day pretending I was okay. Smiling through meetings, answering emails, making small talk like my whole world hadn't just imploded. Nobody knew, of course. How could they? I wasn't about to become watercooler gossip. But inside? I was running on fumes. When I got home, she was already there, sitting on the couch like nothing happened. Legs tucked under her, phone in hand, watching some trashy reality show. Like she hadn't just ripped our life apart 12 hours ago. "Hey," she said, all casual, like we hadn't just had the confrontation of our lives. I didn't respond. Just went into the bedroom and started pulling out the suitcase from under the bed. That finally got her attention. "What are you doing?" I turned around. "Packing." She stood up, arms crossed. "Seriously? You're being so dramatic right now." That word, dramatic, lit something in me. I almost laughed. "No, Rachel. What's dramatic is sneaking around with some guy for months and lying to my face every single day. What's dramatic is telling me it's my fault you cheated. Me leaving? That's just the consequence of your choices." She opened her mouth like she had something else to say, but I guess even she knew she'd hit her limit. Instead, she just stood there, jaw tight, arms still crossed, trying to hold her ground like she was the one being wronged. "I need space," I said. "I don't even want to look at you right now." And with that, I finished packing a bag, took the keys to my brother's place, and walked out. I didn't slam the door. Didn't give her the satisfaction. I just left. Part 10, The Silence. I stayed at my brother's place for the next few days. No calls. No texts. Nothing. Rachel sent a few messages asking where I was, but I didn't respond. I wasn't ready to talk to her yet. I didn't even want to hear her voice. Honestly, I wasn't sure if I ever would again. For the first couple of days, I just needed the space. I walked around in a daze, living in this weird limbo where the world had shifted, but I hadn't quite caught up to it yet. I didn't tell anyone what happened, not yet. I didn't want to talk about it. I wasn't even sure what to say. It felt like too much to explain. I spent hours walking around, trying to process everything. I'd gone from living with someone I trusted to realizing that trust had been shattered. And it wasn't just the cheating, it was the lies. It was everything, years of history, of us, of me loving her while she was somewhere else, living a separate life with someone else. That silence? It was deafening. No phone calls, no apologies, no pleas. Just space. But it wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. Then, on the fourth day, I got a voicemail from her. I almost didn't listen to it. I wasn't ready. But part of me, some dumb part of me, felt like maybe there was something she could say that would fix it. Maybe she was finally going to take accountability. The voicemail was 2 minutes long. She didn't apologize. Not even once. Instead, she asked me to come back, saying she was really sorry for the things I said and how stupid it was to blame everything on you. She told me she missed me and needed me but never once mentioned the affair directly. It was all about her. It was about her feelings, her regret. No acknowledgement of the betrayal. Just her talking in circles, trying to manipulate me into coming home so she wouldn't be alone. When I hung up, I didn't feel relieved. I felt even more sure about the decision I'd made. She wasn't sorry for me. She was sorry for her own mess, for how this was hurting her. And that was all I needed to hear. Part 11. Talking to people. After that voicemail, I knew I couldn't keep it bottled up anymore. I finally told my brother everything. Sat at his kitchen table with a beer in my hand, just laid it all out. He didn't interrupt. Didn't say, "I told you so," or try to spin it. He just listened. When I was done, he just said, "Damn. I'm sorry, man. That's brutal." It helped more than I expected. Saying it out loud made it real. Gave it shape. Up until then, everything was just swirling around in my head like a tornado of confusion and pain. But speaking the words, "My wife cheated on me," made the fog lift a little. The next day, I told my parents. That was harder. My mom cried. My dad got real quiet and then said, "What do you need from us?" Not "what are you going to do," not judgment. Just support. That hit me hard. The most surprising reaction came from my best friend Mark, who's known Rachel almost as long as I have. He didn't even hesitate. "Bro, I never liked how she treated you. Always made you feel like you were walking on eggshells. You deserved better then, and you sure as hell do now." That was the first time it hit me that maybe this didn't come out of nowhere. Maybe there were warning signs all along and I just didn't want to see them. Or maybe I did see them and ignored them because I loved her. Because I thought love was supposed to hurt sometimes. The truth is, once I started talking about it, the support came flooding in. And honestly, that was the first time since this nightmare started that I didn't feel completely alone. Part 12. The Apology That Wasn't. A few days later, Rachel asked to meet in person. I hesitated. I didn't want to see her. Didn't want to hear more half-truths or twisted logic. But part of me still needed, I don't know, closure? Answers? Maybe I was still clinging to the hope that the woman I married would show up and at least own what she did. We met at a coffee shop. Neutral ground. Public enough that things wouldn't explode, but quiet enough to talk. She showed up looking tired. Less put together than usual. No makeup. Hair in a lazy bun. She sat down across from me and said, "You look like crap." I stared at her. "You dragged me here to insult me?" She waved it off. "I'm just saying, this hasn't been easy for me either." And I knew right then this wasn't going to be what I hoped for. She said she was sorry things happened the way they did. Not sorry she cheated. Not sorry she lied to me for months. Just sorry things happened. Like a fender bender. Like she spilled coffee on a shirt. I asked her why. Straight up. Just looked her in the eye and said, "Why him? Why anyone? Why didn't you come to me first?" She shrugged. Shrugged. "I don't know. I was lonely. He made me feel wanted. And I guess I didn't think you'd care." Didn't think I'd care? That one cut deep. Because I cared too much. That's what hurt the most. I gave everything to this marriage. Worked late hours so we could afford vacations. Cooked. Cleaned. Rubbed her feet after work. Listened to her vent about her boss for hours. I thought love was about showing up. Even when it was hard. And here she was, across the table, talking like I was some stranger she vaguely remembered liking once. She ended with, "I don't want this to turn into a war, okay? Can we be adults about it?" I finished my coffee, stood up, and said the adult thing would have been to not blow up your marriage in secret. Then I walked out. Didn't look back. Part 13, The Emotional Avalanche. After that meeting, something inside me finally broke loose. Up until then, I'd been holding it together with duct tape and sheer willpower, keeping it civil, trying to be the bigger person, trying not to fall apart in front of anyone. But walking out of that coffee shop, hearing her say she didn't think I'd care, it all just hit me at once. All the hurt, the lies, the nights she came home from another man's bed and crawled into mine like everything was fine. I got in my car and just sat there. Then the tears came. The kind that sneak up on you. The kind that don't just come from sadness, but rage. I was gripping the steering wheel like it could anchor me, like if I let go, I'd unravel completely. And I did. For a little while. I drove aimlessly for hours. No music, no destination. Just silence and the sound of my own breathing. I ended up parked outside the park where we had our first date. I remembered her sitting on that shitty old bench, laughing at something I said about squirrels. Back then, she looked at me like I was the only person in the world. Now she barely looked at me at all. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the indifference. The way she couldn't even muster up real guilt. Like she'd already moved on, emotionally disconnected months ago and just never told me. I realized something in that moment. This wasn't something I could fix. Not with time, not with therapy, not even with forgiveness. Because she didn't want to fix it. She just wanted me to absorb the damage quietly so she could walk away clean. But I wasn't going to carry that for her. Not anymore. Part 14, The Decision. A week after that meltdown in the car, I filed for divorce. It wasn't some big, dramatic moment. No epic music swelling in the background. Just me standing in an office, signing papers with hands that barely stopped shaking long enough to hold a pen. But when I walked out of there was this clarity. Like I'd been drowning for months and finally came up for air. I didn't tell her right away. She got served at work. Petty? Maybe. But after everything, the lies, the blame, the way she twisted the knife, I didn't owe her a soft landing. She called me that afternoon in full meltdown mode. Suddenly now she wanted to talk. Now she was shocked. Now she was willing to go to counseling. Now she didn't want to lose everything. But she already had. She just didn't realize it until the papers showed up in her lap. I kept the conversation short. "You lost me the second you decided I wasn't enough. This is me choosing myself now." I think that hit her. She went quiet. For the first time in weeks, she didn't have a comeback or some manipulative guilt trip. She just said, "I guess I underestimated you." "You did," I said. "But I won't make the mistake of underestimating myself again." And that was the last time I spoke to her directly. After that, it was all through lawyers. Clean, cold, clinical. Just business. The way she'd already treated our marriage, honestly. Part 15, What I Learned and What I Tell You. So here I am now sitting in my brother's guest room, staring at a half-empty closet, a life cracked open and reshaped, and somehow breathing again. It's been a few months since the divorce was finalized. No drama, no drawn-out battles. She didn't fight it. Maybe she thought I'd cave, maybe she didn't care. Doesn't matter. I survived. I've started rebuilding slowly but with purpose. Therapy for one. Never thought I'd be the type, but it's been a lifeline. I've also reconnected with friends I'd let slip away during the marriage, started going out again, even picked up guitar lessons, something I always wanted to do but never had time for. Turns out when you're not pouring all your energy into holding together a sinking ship, you've got space to actually live. And yeah, it still hurts sometimes. Some mornings I wake up and forget for a second that it's over. That the person I thought I'd grow old with was actually someone who didn't respect me enough to tell me the truth. But then I remember, this pain is honest. It's mine. It's not built on lies or illusions. If you're reading this and you're going through something similar, let me say this, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't gaslight yourself into ignoring red flags because you love someone. Love doesn't excuse betrayal. And you are not too much for expecting honesty, loyalty, or basic human decency. Those are minimums, not luxury items. Also, healing isn't linear. One day you're fine, the next you're crying over a song you didn't even like before. That's okay. That's part of it. But eventually the crying slows down. The fog lifts. You breathe easier. And one day you'll look back and thank yourself for walking away, for surviving, for starting over. That's where I'm at now. Still hurting, still healing, but free. And for the first time in a long time, that feels like enough. Thanks for sticking with me through this. If you're in the middle of something awful, know you're not alone. I didn't think I'd get through it, but I did. You will too.